The biggest conspiracy in human history isn't political or economic. It's psychological. There's an invisible force that keeps 95% of people trapped in lives they hate, broke despite working hard, and dreaming small despite having unlimited potential. This force isn't controlled by governments or corporations. It's controlled by your own mind. You've been programmed to believe that struggle is normal, that lack is acceptable, and that other people's success is somehow different from yours. But here's the shocking truth. Successful people don't have different brains, different DNA, or special advantages. They simply learn to flip one invisible switch that most people don't even know exists. And today, I'm going to show you exactly where that switch is located. There was a man named Robert who worked as a security guard at the Central train station in Chicago. Every morning for 20 years, he would arrive at 6 a.m. sharp and position himself at platform number 7. He would stand there for exactly 8 hours, watching train after train pull into the station, watching thousands of people board and disappear into their destinies. But Robert never got on a single train, you see. Robert was waiting for the 3:15 express to Opportunity. He had heard about this train from his father, who heard about it from his grandfather. This train, they told him, would take him to the land of success, prosperity, and fulfillment. So Robert waited and waited. 20 years passed. Robert's hair turned gray, his back bent from standing, his dreams grew dim. One day, a young maintenance worker approached him and said, "Sir, I've been watching you for months. You're always here at platform 7. What train are you waiting for?" Robert proudly replied, "The 3:15 express to Opportunity, son. My family has been waiting for this train for generations." The young man looked puzzled and pulled out a schedule. "Sir," he said gently, "the 3:15 express to Opportunity departs from platform 1. It always has. Platform 7 only serves trains going to yesterday." Robert had spent 20 years on the wrong platform, waiting for a train that would never come to where he was standing. But here's the shocking truth. The train he was waiting for had been departing every single day from platform 1, just 50 feet away. The difference between Robert's disappointment and his destiny wasn't distance. It wasn't time. It wasn't even opportunity. The difference was his position. The difference was his mindset. Your mindset is like an invisible switch that controls every aspect of your existence. Just like the electrical switch on your wall. You cannot see the power flowing through it, but you can see the results when you flip it. When you flip the switch up, light floods the room. When you flip it down, darkness takes over. The electricity is always there, waiting, ready to serve you, but the switch determines whether you experience illumination or remain in shadow. Most people live their entire lives never realizing they have the switch. They stumble around in darkness, complaining about their circumstances, blaming their environment, pointing fingers at other people, when all along they have the power to flood their world with light. They are standing on platform 7, waiting for trains that will never come, while the express to their dreams departs daily from platform 1. Think about electricity for a moment. The same electrical current that powers a light bulb can also power a refrigerator, a computer, or a television. The electricity doesn't change. What changes is the device it flows through. Your mind is like that electrical current. It's pure potential energy. But your mindset is the device that determines what that mental energy produces in your life. If you connect your mental energy to a poverty mindset, you'll produce lack. If you connect it to a failure mindset, you'll produce disappointment. If you connect it to a victim mindset, you'll produce excuses. But if you connect that same mental energy to a success mindset, to an abundance mindset, to a solution mindset, you'll produce results that will amaze you. I've studied successful people for decades, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. They don't have different brains than you. They don't have special DNA. They weren't born with magical powers. They simply learned to flip their mental switch to the on position while others leave theirs permanently stuck on off. The problem is that most people don't even know they have a switch. They think life just happens to them. They believe they're victims of their circumstances, victims of their upbringing, victims of their environment, victims of their economy, victims of their education, victims of their skin color, victims of their gender, victims of their age. But here's what I want you to understand today. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a victim of your mindset when you were born. You came into this world with a mind like a blank computer hard drive. You had tremendous capacity, incredible potential, unlimited possibilities. But then life started programming you. Your parents programmed you with their beliefs about money, about success, about what's possible. Your teachers programmed you with their limitations. Your friends programmed you with their fears. Society programmed you with its rules about what people like you can and cannot achieve. Layer by layer, program by program. Your mind was filled with software that you never chose. And now, as an adult, you're running on mental programs that were installed decades ago by people who may have meant well, but who were running on faulty programs themselves. But here's the good news. Just like any computer, your mind can be reprogrammed. Just like any switch, your mindset can be flipped. The question is not whether you can change your thinking. The question is whether you will take responsibility for changing your thinking. Most people want to change their circumstances without changing their mindset. They want different results while keeping the same mental patterns. They want to move to platform 1 while their mind remains positioned at platform 7. But that's not how life works. You cannot change your external world without first changing your internal world. You cannot change your results without changing your thinking. You cannot change your destination without changing your position. The invisible switch of your mindset is the most powerful tool you possess. It determines what you see, what you believe, what you attempt, and ultimately what you achieve. Today, I want to show you how to locate that switch, how to control that switch, and how to use that switch to transform every area of your life. Because the train to your destiny is departing from platform 1. And it's time you took your rightful place on board. Now, let me tell you about Marcus Williams, one of the most celebrated architects in modern history. Marcus designed skyscrapers, bridges, and monuments that touched the clouds and inspired millions. But his greatest lesson came not from his successes, but from his biggest failure. Marcus had a brilliant student named David. For 3 years, David studied under Marcus, absorbing every principle, every technique, every secret of architectural excellence. When David graduated, Marcus gave him his first major project, designing a community center for a small town. Marcus handed David the blueprints and said, "Follow these plans exactly. This building will serve generations." David was excited. He took the blueprints home and studied them for weeks. He calculated every measurement, every angle, every specification. He was determined to make his mentor proud. 6 months later, the building was complete. David called Marcus to come see his masterpiece. When Marcus arrived, his face turned pale. David had built the entire structure upside down. The foundation was at the top, the roof was at the bottom. It was architecturally impossible and completely unusable. "David," Marcus asked, "how did this happen? You're brilliant. You know these principles better than anyone." David pulled out the blueprints, and Marcus immediately understood. David had been reading the plans upside down from day one. For 6 months, David had worked with perfect precision, flawless execution, and complete dedication, but he was building from the wrong blueprint. All his skill, all his effort, all his passion was directed by a faulty foundation of understanding. This is exactly what happens with your mindset. You came into this world as a master builder, equipped with incredible ability to construct your life. But somewhere along the way, you were given blueprints, mental patterns and beliefs about how life works. And you never questioned whether those blueprints were right side up. Your parents gave you blueprints about money. Maybe they told you money is the root of all evil, or rich people are greedy, or we can't afford that. So you built a financial life based on scarcity blueprints. And no matter how hard you work, you keep constructing poverty because you're reading the plans upside down. Your teachers gave you blueprints about success. Maybe they told you stay in your lane, or don't aim too high, or people like us don't do things like that. So you built a career based on limitation blueprints. And no matter how talented you are, you keep constructing mediocrity because you're following faulty plans. Your society gave you blueprints about possibilities. Maybe they told you that success is for other people, that big dreams are unrealistic, that you should be grateful for whatever you get. So you built a life based on settlement blueprints. And no matter how much potential you have, you keep constructing disappointment because you're working from the wrong design. But here's what you must understand. You are not a thermometer. You are a thermostat. A thermometer simply reports the temperature around it. When the room is cold, it says cold. When the room is hot, it says hot. It has no power to change anything. It just reacts to whatever environment it finds itself in. A thermostat, however, controls the temperature. When the room gets too cold, the thermostat turns on the heat. When the room gets too hot, the thermostat activates the cooling. The thermostat doesn't ask the room's permission. Most people live like thermometers. When their environment is negative, they become negative. When the economy is bad, they declare defeat. When people around them are failing, they expect to fail. They let their circumstances determine their mindset instead of letting their mindset determine their circumstances. But successful people live like thermostats. They decide what mental temperature they want to maintain, and then they control their internal environment regardless of what's happening around them. They don't ask their circumstances for permission to think successfully. They don't wait for conditions to improve before they improve their thinking. This is why poverty runs in families for generations. It's not because poor families don't work hard. It's not because they lack intelligence. It's because they inherit blueprints for scarcity thinking and never question whether those blueprints are upside down. They pass down mindset patterns like genetic traits. And each generation builds their life from the same faulty plans their parents used. This is why some families produce generation after generation of failure, while other families produce generation after generation of success. It has nothing to do with luck, connections, or advantages. It has everything to do with the mental blueprints being passed down and whether anyone in that family line has the courage to flip the plans right side up. But today, that can change with you. Today, you can become the thermostat in your family line. Today, you can flip your blueprints right side up and start building the life you were designed to live. There was a man named Antonio who worked in a factory for 37 years. Every day, he would clock in at 7 a.m., walk to station number 12, and begin his work. His job was simple. Take small white objects from a conveyor belt and paint them with delicate, precise strokes using a tiny brush. Hour after hour, day after day, year after year. Antonio painted these white objects orange and black. Antonio was fast, he was accurate. He could paint more objects in a day than any other worker in the factory. But Antonio was miserable. He felt his work was meaningless, repetitive, and beneath his intelligence. He complained to his wife every night about wasting his life painting worthless white things that nobody cared about. One day, the factory owner brought his grandson for a tour. As they walked through the facility, the young boy stopped at Antonio's station and watched in amazement. "Grandpa," the boy whispered, "this man is an artist. Look how beautifully he paints those butterfly wings for 37 years. Antonio thought he was just painting meaningless white objects, but he was creating butterflies. Millions of children around the world had smiled, laughed, and felt wonder because of Antonio's work. He had been spreading beauty and joy across the planet, but his mindset told him he was wasting his life. The objects never changed. The paint never changed. Antonio's skill never changed. What changed was his perspective. And the moment his perspective shifted, everything shifted. His work became art. His job became a calling. His daily routine became a contribution to the world's happiness. This is the power of reframing your reality. The same situation can be an obstacle or an opportunity, depending on how you choose to see it. The same challenge can be a roadblock or a building block based on your perspective. The same setback can be a defeat or a setup for a comeback, depending on the lens through which you view it. Most people ask the wrong questions when facing difficulties. They ask, why is this happening to me? That question leads to victimhood, self-pity, and powerlessness. But successful people ask different questions. They ask, how can I use this? What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? What opportunity is hidden in this challenge? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your answers. When you ask victim questions, you get victim answers. When you ask victor questions, you get victor answers. Your brain is like a computer. It will find whatever you program it to search for. Every Olympic athlete, every world-class surgeon, every masterful musician practices the same technique, mental rehearsal. They don't just practice with their bodies, they practice with their minds. They see themselves succeeding before they ever step into competition, into the operating room or onto the stage. Your mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly visualize success, your brain creates neural pathways as if you had already succeeded. This is why some people seem naturally confident in new situations. They've already succeeded there in their minds hundreds of times, but most people use this same mental rehearsal power in reverse. They practice failure. They visualize worst-case scenarios. They imagine rejection, disappointment, and defeat so vividly that their minds create neural pathways for failure. Then they wonder why they feel anxious and perform poorly when opportunities arise. The transformation begins when you realize that every moment. You are choosing what to rehearse in your mind. You are choosing what to visualize, what to expect, what to prepare for. Your mindset is not something that happens to you, it's something you actively create through the thoughts you choose to think and the mental movies you choose to play. There was a family called the Johnsons who lived in a small apartment right next to the city's most powerful radio station. This radio station broadcast beautiful music, inspiring programs, educational content, and uplifting messages 24 hours a day. The signal was so strong that it could reach cities hundreds of miles away. But the Johnson family lived in complete silence. They complained constantly about boredom, about having nothing to do, about feeling disconnected from the world. Neighbors would visit and ask, how can you be so quiet when you live right next to the radio station? The Johnsons would reply, what radio station? We don't hear anything. One day, a technician came to fix the electrical wiring while working. He noticed an old radio in the corner, covered in dust. Out of curiosity, he plugged it in and turned it on. Suddenly, the apartment filled with the most beautiful music they had ever heard. The family was shocked. Where is this coming from, they asked. The technician smiled and explained, this music has been surrounding your home for years. The radio waves have been passing through your walls, through your bodies, through every room in this apartment. The music was always here. You just weren't tuned in to receive it. Your success, your abundance, your opportunities are like those radio waves. They are all around you right now, passing through your environment, surrounding your life. But if your mental radio is not tuned to the right frequency, you will live in silence while others enjoy the music. Most people have their mental radios tuned to the frequency of limitation, fear, and doubt. So that's all they receive. They hear the static of I can't, the interference of it's impossible, and the weak signal of people like me don't succeed. Meanwhile, the frequency of possibility is broadcasting loud and clear, but they're not tuned in. The activation process begins with aligning your thoughts with your desires. You cannot think poverty thoughts and expect wealth results. You cannot think failure thoughts and expect success outcomes. You cannot think victim thoughts and expect victor experiences. Your external world will always match your internal frequency. But here's where most people make a critical mistake. They try to think positive thoughts while their expectations remain negative. They affirm success while secretly expecting failure. This creates internal conflict, like trying to tune your radio to 2 stations simultaneously. All you get is static and confusion. Successful people understand that mindset maintenance is a daily practice. They guard their mental input like security guards protect a bank vault. They are extremely selective about what they read, what they watch, what they listen to, and who they spend time with. They know that their mind is their most valuable asset, and they protect it accordingly. They start each day by feeding their minds with content that reinforces their success frequency. They read books written by people who have achieved what they want to achieve. They listen to programs that strengthen their belief in possibility. They surround themselves with people who speak the language of solution rather than the dialect of problems. Environmental design is crucial for mindset activation. If you want to think like a successful person, you must create an environment that supports successful thinking. Remove the triggers that activate your old mindset and install triggers that activate your new one. Change your screensaver to an image of your goal. Put success books where you used to keep worry magazines. Replace conversations about problems with discussions about possibilities. Your environment is constantly programming your subconscious mind. Every poster on your wall, every book on your shelf, every conversation in your presence is either reinforcing your success frequency or interfering with it. Now let me tell you about a man named Captain William Henderson who served as a lighthouse keeper on a remote island off the coast of Maine for 43 years. Every night, without fail, Captain Henderson would climb the winding stairs to the top of the lighthouse and ignite the powerful beacon that warned ships of the dangerous rocks below. For 4 decades, Captain Henderson performed this ritual in complete solitude. He never saw the ships he guided to safety. He never met the sailors whose lives he saved. He never received thank you letters or recognition for his service. Most nights, he couldn't even see the vessels that passed by his light because of fog or distance. To an outside observer, it might have seemed like a lonely, thankless job with no visible impact. But Captain Henderson understood something profound about purpose. He knew that every night. His decision to light that beacon created ripples that extended far beyond what his eyes could see. He knew that somewhere in the darkness, captains were adjusting their course because of his light. He knew that families were being reunited because their fathers made it safely to port. He knew that cargo was reaching its destination because ships avoided the rocks that had claimed so many vessels before the lighthouse was built. When Captain Henderson finally retired, the Maritime Authority decided to honor his service. They spent months researching shipping records and discovered something remarkable. During Captain Henderson's 43 years of service, over 12,000 ships had safely navigated past those treacherous rocks. An estimated 60,000 sailors had made it home to their families because one man faithfully lit a beacon every single night. But here's the most incredible part of the story. Captain Henderson had no children of his own. But those 60,000 sailors went home to their wives and children. They told their families stories of courage, perseverance, and faithfulness. They taught their children that one person's commitment to duty can save thousands of lives. Those children grew up with a different mindset about responsibility, service, and the power of individual action. Many of those children became leaders, innovators, and change makers in their communities. Some became lighthouse keepers themselves. Others became teachers, doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs. But all of them carried within them the lesson that one person's unwavering commitment to doing the right thing can create waves of positive impact that last for generations. This is the legacy power of a transformed mindset. When you flip your mental switch from limitation to possibility, from victim to victor, from scarcity to abundance. You don't just change your own life, you become a lighthouse for everyone in your sphere of influence. Your children are watching how you think. They're not just listening to what you say about success. They're observing how you think about challenges. They're not just hearing your words about possibility. They're witnessing your mental responses to setbacks. Your mindset is being downloaded into their subconscious minds every single day. Your co-workers are influenced by your mental frequency. When you walk into a room with a solution mindset, you change the energy of that space. When you respond to problems with possibility thinking, you give others permission to think differently. When you maintain a success frequency despite difficult circumstances, you become a beacon of hope for people who have forgotten that transformation is possible. Your community feels the ripple effect of your transformed thinking when you operate from abundance instead of scarcity. You create opportunities for others. When you think from possibility instead of limitation, you inspire innovation. When you function from faith instead of fear, you become a catalyst for positive change that extends far beyond your immediate circle. But the greatest legacy of a transformed mindset is what you pass down to the next generation. Most people inherit their mental patterns like genetic traits. They receive limitation thinking from their parents, who received it from theirs. The invisible switch remains stuck in the off position for entire family lines because no one takes responsibility for flipping it. But when you transform your mindset, you break generational patterns. You become the ancestor that future generations will thank. You become the one who changed the trajectory of your family tree. Instead of passing down mental programs of lack, fear, and limitation, you download blueprints of abundance, courage, and possibility into the minds of those who come after you. The inheritance you leave isn't just financial, it's mental. The wealth you create isn't just monetary, it's mindset. The success you achieve isn't just personal, it's generational. Every time you choose possibility over limitation, every time you choose solution over problems, every time you choose growth over comfort, you are lighting a beacon that will guide ships you will never see to shores you will never visit. Your life is not just about you. Your mindset is not just for you. Your transformation is not just about you. You are connected to thousands of people whose lives will be touched by the ripples of your mental transformation. Some of them haven't even been born yet, but they will benefit from the decision you make today to flip your invisible switch right now at this very moment. Your life is waiting for you to take control of that switch. Your dreams are waiting for you to tune into the right frequency. Your destiny is waiting for you to step onto platform 1 and board the express train to your possibilities. The question is not whether you have the power to transform your mindset. You do. The question is not whether transformation is possible for someone like you. It is. The question is not whether you deserve success, abundance, and fulfillment. You do. The only question that matters is this: will you flip the switch? Today's the day your invisible switch becomes visible. Today's the day your mindset becomes your greatest asset instead of your greatest liability. Today's the day you stop being a victim of your thinking and start being the architect of your thoughts. The lighthouse is built. The beacon is ready. All that remains is for you to climb the stairs and turn on the light. Your ships are waiting. Your legacy is calling. Your transformation begins now.